And welcome back to the Dash Convention Europe. We now have a 2 keynote speaker session. This is being live streamed right now on YouTube via the official Dash Core Group channel. Thank you all for attending today. And I would like to not only introduce, but give my thanks, because our first keynote speaker is Fabio Bossi, who is the CEO of Bitterlo, but he's also one of the main people and organizers of the event today, and I think we're all in agreement that today has been very beneficial. So can you please give a warm welcome to Fabio Bossi, CEO of Bitterlo, to talk about P2P trading on Bitterlo. Thank you very much. Everybody, you got this.
So, hello. I'm really glad to be here and to see all you people here and to finally have my talk. It was a little bit stressful the last days, but now everything seems to be fine and I'm really happy about the convention. Yeah, to not waste any time, I'm talking today about Bitalo.de. Some Dash OGs might remember, I think it was in 2015, I first talked with Tankfar from Dashcore about Bitalo, and I told about the impending license we're going to get in Germany. The company actually was founded in 2013 by my good friend Martin Albert, who's going to speak right after me. I joined the team in 2014. He basically Googled me and found me on the German version of LinkedIn, the Xing, and back then in 2014, I think it was the only match with Bitcoin and finance, and that's how he found me. And because I have a background, a financial industry background. I'm a former fund manager of a global macro fund of fund. And so I have a CV that the German authorities, the BaFin, the German SEC, and the Bundesbank, so the German Fed, considers trustworthy enough to be CEO of such a company. And we finally got that license as a financial intermediary by BaFin and Bundesbank in 2018. And we finally launched in September 2019. Yeah, okay, so short ago. What do? We are a peer-to-peer trading company. So financial intermediary, we bring people who want to buy and sell cryptos versus fiat. Currently, we offer pairs in euro and Swiss francs with cryptocurrencies. And we use, that was Martin's idea back then, to be safe from any hacks. We wanted to provide very secure wallets, and so we have created user-side encrypted wallets. So Bitalo, not only we don't hold any fiat, we also don't hold the private keys of the users, because we only have the encrypted private keys on our servers, which also means that we are not custodial, which is getting important now as the EU is planning to regulate, or has already announced to regulate custodial wallet providers and exchanges. So you need an extra license for that. But and so far the Bundesbank agrees with us. We were there last Friday and said, okay, if you can't run away with the coins, you don't hold them, you're not a custodian. Our focus is on transparent on-chain trading and execution. Not sure what's going on here. So you you can see everything that happens on the blockchain, and the word on-chain signals that we have to use cryptos that actually want to scale on-chain, and of course that makes Dash a perfect match for us. So, as I said, we don't hold any fiat money. Users just register with us, full KYC, of course, German regulated. Then the user enters his bank account, and when they trade with other users, they send the money from one bank account to the other. So, and we are basically just the dispute resolution party, the centralized escrow, if you want, who has one of three keys. So when the coins are in the escrow, the buyer and the seller have a key, we have a key, and if everything is fine, buyer and seller agree that the money was sent, and the seller checks his bank account, the euro or Swiss franc are there, release the coins, then we are not needed. We are basically just the service that gets into play when there's any dispute between buyer and seller, and we have the third key that's needed to resolve the conflicts. Well, okay, I think I just skipped the slides, doesn't really work. Okay, that's what I already said, the 3 out of 4. Okay, just forget the presentation. There's a nice picture somewhere. Okay, that's what I said, the regulatory outlook. We introduced, the EU is going to regulate the exchanges and wallet providers if they are crypto custodial services. But as I told you already, at least the Bundesbank agrees with us. Now BaFin has to agree too, but we're quite confident. Our lawyer just wrote yesterday a very nice email to us because he spoke to the BaFin. The BaFin actually missed our appointment, the appointment with us, but the Bundesbank seems to have talked very positively about what we do. So we are confident that we won't be regulated under the new rule. While our competitors, like for instance, very famous in the DACH area, Bitcoin.de, they actually hold the user's private keys, but they, as far as we know, they're going to upgrade their license and move up to being a bank. So let's see if they will still offer peer-to-peer trading. We don't know. Maybe they will, maybe they won't, because if they become an actual bank, they can sell their own Bitcoin or their own Dash or Bitcoin Cash. So they can sell their own coin. Well, we are not even allowed as Bitalo AG to be on our own order book. So we are not allowed to sell our own coins on our order book. And as a bank, you can do that. Bitalo doesn't need it, so we don't care. Yeah, I think that's that. Again, we don't hold the keys. And well, I wanted to show the nice map that our order book is starting. Because we offer also a service. You can, when you enter an offer on the site. Yeah, okay. There was a map. Yeah, but just go on Bitalo.de. You will see that map. You can enter. Please add the location to the map, and you can contact then the buyer or seller in private, and you can meet. But that's then none of our business, basically. But it's an additional feature. Otherwise, of course, you can trade. You can just use our escrow service, and hopefully there won't any disputes we have to resolve, but just in case we're there. And as we have to do full KYC and use, of course, normally the video identification method, which can be quite a hassle because sometimes the laptop camera of the customer doesn't focus and we don't see the the ID, and BaFin is very strict about that. So we have a whole procedure how to hold the ID, in which angle, and move it, and this and that. So that's quite a hassle. But now we are here, Martin and I, so you can actually come to us, and if you want to register, we can identify you in person and make a copy of your ID, and that's maybe a little bit easier than doing the video identification. Yeah, that's basically it. If you have any questions, I'm happy to answer them. Otherwise, I would introduce the next speaker, which is my good old friend Martin, reformed Bitcoin maximalist turned Dash maximalist, at least for the weekend. But there's a question. Thank.
Are you franchising your technology?
We can. Yes, we can talk about that. Yeah, we're so far we were targeting mainly the Euro area in Switzerland, but we are very interested in the non-Euro European countries like Poland, for instance, and of course Turkey is also interesting for us because there's a lot of Turks in Germany, and of course we follow the work of a Dach embassy who want to get the remittance between Germany and Turkey started. So yeah, we're open for talks about that.
I think we spoke before, maybe with your colleague, and I think the cost of the transaction is something like 1.9%?
No, 1.0. We started with 1% shared between buyer and seller.
Buy and sell as people trade, or if you trade a certain amount?
No, so far it's fixed. I mean, we're not an exchange. Our target group is basically people who don't like order books, who are not professional traders, but they know how to for noobs, if you want, or small middle-sized traders.
Because before we were speaking about how to avoid those spikes in Dash and how it's are necessary market makers.
Mm-hmm.
And if the trade cost is 1%, a person cannot actually enter as a market maker because it will be, and if you cannot do it because you're not a bank, now you might have the risk that the price might go a little bit up and down. So
yeah, I mean,
consider that.
we are just an intermediary, so we have no way of influencing what price the private user who's a buyer or seller wants. So yeah.
Yeah, but on tracking you can have the market makers and then the price stabilizes.
Yes. Yeah. That's I mean, what we use compared to our competitors, Bitcoin.de, is dynamic pricing. So you can enter, let's say I want to buy a Dash, and I want to pay CoinMarketCap average minus 2%. I can put it in, and if there's any taker, there's going to be a deal, and if not, it's not going to happen. But so it moves. But for the purpose of what was discussed in the co-working part, I think Bitalo might not be the ideal place to realize that. Yes, please.
Size limitations, is there a maximum or minimum for the...
No, it's basically your own choice. I mean, pick your coin wisely. If you pick a certain coin with high fees, I wouldn't maybe not sell like €5 in Bitcoin, because otherwise, because everything works on chain. Oh, that's just the normal anti-money laundering rules. So if you trade more than 15,000 1,000 euro a year, we will reach out to you and do anti-money, so source of funds, where did you get the money from, etc., and put it in our file. So I think that's it. And now I'm very pleased to welcome my friend Martin Albert, who's actually the founder of Bitalo. And yeah, I'm looking forward to his talk about Lamium.
So, thank you very much. I'm very proud to be part of this conference. And let me quickly get the slides on, because you all deserve a break. So, because now I want to talk about something totally different. It's not only about what is now the best exchange and so on, or the best currency, but I want to start with a bit of more provocative topic, and namely, I want to give you guys 4 reasons why, in my opinion, Dash will never become mainstream. But that said, at the same time, I also want to claim that it doesn't matter if it's mainstream, because as long as you have a super motivated crowd that we probably have here, it doesn't matter if some grandmother accepts Dash or not, because we are the crowd that accepts Dash, and this is all we need. Anyway, so since I don't have so much time, I want to start with the first reason why Dash will never become mainstream. And the first reason, which I had to really learn over time, so I started also in the Bitcoin space in 2011 already, and I also started like, everybody will accept this very soon, it's such a great thing, how can people not see that Bitcoin and Dash was only coming later? Why does this not like convince everybody immediately? And I started to think about this. Where is this? Yeah, so I was always running around. And I was trying to convince everybody on the street. It doesn't show. It shows here, huh? Wait.
Freeze button?
Freeze? Wait. I will start it again. Okay, anyway, I will keep continuing my story. So I was running around on the street. I was trying to convince everybody. I was going to every single stupid shop. So can I try full screen now? Okay, so I was really running around in every stupid shop. Hey, I have this cool Bitcoin thing, you want to accept it? I want a burger at your place. And there were really some nerd places. I was living in Helsinki, and there was some Pirati burger thing. I could really buy, I think, for 1 Bitcoin a burger somehow, and I was super proud. It was even a vegan burger, which is not so much my thing. But I could really go to the shop to really spend my first Bitcoin on some stupid burger. I should not have done this because it was vegan and it was 1 Bitcoin. But I always tried to run around, but it was very difficult to convince everybody, because you ask the people to accept this, and they say no. So I start explaining, but it's so cool. It's like you don't need an account, you don't have this kind of requirement that some bank can be closing you, and you cannot inflate the currency, but the guy doesn't care. Yeah? So the usual response I always get is like, go away with your shitcoin, and even when it was Bitcoin. Yeah? So they really sent you out. I don't need this. My shop works perfectly fine without your stupid thing. And so I was really investigating, like, why do people not listen? And I was doing the same experience when I was debating, for example, flat earthers on Facebook. I thought, come on, it's so obvious. Yeah, the Earth is not flat. You can. And I have the best arguments, yeah, so, come on, you just look out of the window and whatever, and you can make this kind of test and this Corioliskraft, whatever, you have 10,000 arguments. But the flat earthers, they are even more prepared because they know every argument that you will bring, and they will bring you down with their experience. And they will really tell you stuff like gravity doesn't exist, and you just listen to the government, and the government's cool, and say, sorry, you have a point, but still, I could not convince any flat earther from not being a flat earther anymore. And so I was Googling, why is it like this? And it's pretty logical, because the human mind works in a way that you cannot convince anyone of anything unless it really comes intrinsically from himself. Because the human mind, if they would change the mind all the time, you would go crazy. And this is why we are here. And so this is the one reason. So it's very difficult to convince people in general. So the second thing is, why do people not like Bitcoin, Dash, or whatever? Because they have basically no reason for people to use it. Because of course we are all in a way a bit special because we understand all the background. But the question I always receive is, why would I need a Dash? Because I can just use my normal money in every shop. And of course you can argue, yeah, but Dash, it's super fast and whatever. But it's even faster to just take the 100 francs bill and go to the pizza place next door. They just accept it. You don't have to discuss with anyone. And people get paid their salaries in fiat. They have to pay their taxes in fiat. They just buy anything anyway. So in the, let's say, regular, normal Western world, unless you are living in Venezuela, there is not a big deal for you to really use Bitcoin. And also when you say, but you have so low fees with Dash, only one, what is Duffel per byte, whatever, but they say, I don't care, but cash transactions for free for me. And even when he pays his credit card, it's just the shop who pays for that. And of course, you can always argue, but there's a bank run and Dash is much better. You have the cash with you and not with the bank. But even in Greece, they had the bank run. They had in Cyprus the bank accounts closed. No one cares. It's just they just queue for a month, and then there's some bailout, and it's just continuing as before. And you can say, okay, business as usual. No one cares. The third big argument why people don't like this kind of Dash Bitcoin stuff is because of regulation. Because the regulator doesn't like this kind of things because they just make extra laws for that. And this is why I always say Dash for business, that's PITA. PITA is an abbreviation for pain in the ass. So you have here smiling people just paying with credit card. That's very easy. You have the point of sale terminal, it's fully regulated, you can make your tax bill, whatever. But when you come up with some whatever Salamantex thing, like, you want to add this, you need to really like convince the people, which is for reason number one, not easy. And they need to make a second device. It's not integrated in the first device. And then they need to have two accounting sheets, one for the financial authorities, how much Dash they bought, at which price. And so in the end, the shop always wants fiat anyway. And this is why you have all these kind of exchange terminals all the time. And of course, you always have friction on the way, because in case you really go with this kind of Bitcoin thing, at least so far it was very complicated. So some hipster guy goes to some shady, whatever, online Mt. Gox website, not even licensed, and he buys some coins, and he has to pay fees there. Then he has to store the coins somewhere. Storing coins is not as easy as most people might think. Then you have to spend the coins. The business has to pay some fee to some payment provider, and in the end you have 3 times fees that you buy coins, so that the business is just selling them. And so this is the whole reason, because the business user is fully affected by regulation. He needs to do all this double accounting, and he has all these checks and balances, let's say, from all kind of things, and he needs to prove in his accounting where he got whatever coins from, and he has to evaluate them for whatever exchange rate. And on the other hand, you have the individual user. So the individual user, so when I just run around the street and I'm giving out with my wallet in the pocket, it's no problem. I can just send around coins. No one cares what I'm doing, because I'm not a business in that sense. And of course, there's also something in the middle, which I always call the so-called private business user. A private business is somebody who's doing something as a private person, which is in a way a business. And we have these famous examples from Uber, like Airbnb, but still for this, you don't convince people to accept coins there. And so there's basically a blurred line where Bitcoin and Dash and so on is actually useful. And when I now go to the fourth reason why it's very difficult to bring this so-called mainstream adoption, and the reason is very simple. It's not even the government, it's banks. Because when you want to make a business and you say, I want to go open a bank account, the bank will simply say, no, what are you doing? You're doing crypto stuff. No, I don't want to give you an account. And you can maybe sue the bank to force them to give you an account, but it doesn't happen. So when the bank says, no, you don't have an account, you don't get an account. And even when you are a crypto business, you still need a fiat bank account because you have to pay your taxes, unless you, so banks reject crypto-related businesses. In comparison to that, the private individuals, there's even legislation now in the EU. So when you're living in Germany and the bank says you don't get a private bank account, you can sue the bank, and because they have to give you a bank account. This is not like this when you are a business. So when you're a company, the company can simply say, no, you don't get an account. And there's nothing you can do about it. And so what is my, how to say, experience of the last, is it 10 years already? Of, it was 10 years of Bitcoin, and I was, maybe 8 years where I was participating, and with all the bad experience I made in this kind of topic, my solution, which I always made, always looked the following. Yeah? So I always distinguish the world between two types of people. Yeah? You have the super happy Bitcoin guys because the price is always going up, unless it drops. And you have this super happy fiat guy who's totally happy with his life, with his credit card, and you cannot convince him to accept Bitcoin unless you really sell some Ponzi scheme to him, then he might jump on it. But the trick should now be how to get the mainstream adoption. It's not to convince the guy on the right side to say, this Bitcoin is better, the Dash is better, because he doesn't listen anyway. So you have to make him accept Dash without him noticing him to accept Dash. Because even when it's like a crypto maximalist, and maybe he doesn't like Dash because, all the Instamind discussion, and so you can have the best arguments, but when somebody doesn't want Dash, he doesn't want Dash. And so when you now imagine you have now a real life situation, yeah? A real life situation means you have Dash, yeah? Because it's pretty common when you're at the Doge conference. So the Dash guy has Dash, but now you have the first of the month or like the end of the last month, and you need to pay your landlord. That's a pretty normal scenario for most people. So you have to pay your landlord. And of course, you can try to convince the landlord to say, Dash is the best thing ever and you need to accept it. But for the obvious reasons, he will not do that. He always wants to do only with fiat. So what did I do in the past? Yeah, the so-called standard method was, I have to sell some Dash on some exchange. So I go to Kraken, I sell my Dash, and then I get money on my bank account. And from my bank account, I pay the landlord because the landlord wants fiat. And it's super time consuming. It cost me like a few days to wire the money from the exchange, and it's expensive because I have to pay a fee at the exchange and whatever. And then of course what I don't want is like traces on my bank account, because I get money incoming from the exchange and it shows the guy sold Bitcoin, or Dash in my case of course. So I have traces on my bank account which I don't want. So the so-called nerd method, which I used for many, many years, the nerd method I was spamming all my friends on Facebook. Hey, it's first of the month, what a surprise. Does anyone have some fiat left in his account? Because I need to pay my rent, and maybe you can pay my rent, and I give you some Bitcoin or Dash. And it was always like a big pain in the ass for me, because I had to really ask, and it was always the same people I asked, and it was most of the time it's a crypto maximalist, so they don't have fiat on their account either. So I was asking like 10 people till I got a positive response. Yeah, I can pay your bill. And then of course he doesn't do it for free, so I have to negotiate how much fee do you want. And it was also super time consuming, so even selling on Kraken was even easier. And there was no guarantee for me to successfully find one who has end of the month some fiat left, because who is keeping fiat on his account anyway. So, and then the only way out of this was the so-called non-plus-ultra solution. It's a so-called decentralized invoice payment. Basically, it works like this. I don't even care who's paying my rent, because I just want it paid. And the landlord also doesn't care who he is receiving the money from, as long as he can prove it's for the rent. And so it simply works like the person who wants his invoice be paid uploads his invoice to say, hey, I want to get this bill paid. And then I just pay the Bitcoin or Dash or whatever upfront into the service. And then there is in the background a network of, let's say, 150 people who have registered at the service to say, I'm willing to buy Bitcoins. And because the guy who wants to buy Bitcoins, he doesn't care if he's buying coins from an exchange or if he's paying a bill. In the end, he just gets Bitcoin in the end. And when the invoice payer has then provably paid my rent, the service can release the crypto, like the Dash or the Bitcoin, to him. And so it really works a very simple way. So I took a good friend as an example. So there's Fabio. He has only Dash. He has only Dash, and he wants to get his phone bill paid because he's calling lots of numbers every day. And so he says, So he has an invoice which is unpaid, otherwise he wouldn't upload it, and he has some Dash, I hope so. So he just uploads the invoice to the Lamium, and he says, here, take my Dash, I don't care. I will just upload my bill to Lamium and send them some Bitcoins, case closed for me. I always say fire and forget. Yeah? You have some Marshall missile, you just fire, and it doesn't matter who is getting hit. So, and then you have basically a network on the right, that's for example me, who is a network of invoice payers. Yeah? And I see the invoice which came into the system. So look, some guy uploaded a phone bill. I don't even know that's Fabio. I will pay from my private bank account now this invoice, and then I will get Bitcoins, or in this case the Dash. And then it can be any one of these three people. So it doesn't have to be the same guy paying for the bill all the time. So one guy can say, I want to take this one. And then he just pays the fiat. I have used some euro, not Swiss francs. And then the guy says, it was easy. I got a few Dash for a very good price. Because why does he get a good price? Because Fabio is paying the fee to the guy who's paying the bill. And so the guy gets, it's a win-win situation for everybody. The landlord just gets paid in fiat, which he wants. The other guy Fabio can sell his Dash without using an exchange. And one guy can buy cheap crypto. Also cheap means like 1% below Krakenpreis, for example. And all you have to do, you don't even have to register an account. You can just upload your bill. No one asks any KYC or anything. And this is why we spread this meme. So all the guys always use decentralized exchanges all the time, which was working nice for a bit. But now you can just swap to somebody more interesting, namely you just pay the bills. And is my time over? I'm not sure. I have still maybe some time for some questions. 5 more minutes for questions. Sorry?
Which countries are you active in?
The thing is, in theory, we could be potentially active in any country because the invoice payer can sit in Pakistan and pay for another Pakistani guy the bill. So at the moment, we have around 130 people who are paying bills. They are mostly from Germany, Finland, a few from France, Switzerland, of course, and also some people in Poland. And so the currencies we are currently supporting is Swiss franc, euro, US dollar, and Polish zloty. And as the whole thing is, so the cryptocurrencies which accept as Bitcoin and Dash, so we could grow in principle also in other currencies and so on, but you always need this kind of liquidity. So we want to make sure that every bill who gets uploaded also gets paid. And this is why we only release more regions or whatever, or more currencies, only when there would be more invoice payers volunteering to join the network.
What do we do if there's a bill for Dash, but there's no Dash buyer?
No, we will make sure that there's always a Dash bill payer. Yes, and since we think we have good connections to the Dash community, we always find somebody. And I mean, in very, very worst case, you just get your Dash back, but this never happened so far. And also, yeah.
Because of volatility, the guy putting the Dash in may not be sufficient to pay the bill at the end.
Yes, so the volatility is of course a problem. So we have solved this in the following way. So you have 2 times where the price is fixed. Yeah? The thing is, when the guy wants to upload a bill, he gets a fixed price, how much Dash he has to pay. And then it's fixed. And then of course, until you get somebody to volunteer to pay the bill, there can be a different price. And the difference is covered by the service, which means the guy who's claiming the bill, as in the moment when he says, I'm claiming this bill, then he has a fixed price again. And the difference is covered by the service, and the idea is that the price long-term always goes up. So, Yeah, a bank transaction, the average time is 2 days. And of course you have banking holidays. So when you have some super urgent payments, so it's not an instant payment service. So it's not like you upload the Dash and your fiat is settled. It's not like this. So you always, when you have a weekend, so when, for example, if you would upload a bill today, then it's in the system, maybe till Monday morning. Monday morning it will be picked up and will be on the other account on Tuesday or so. But it's a... Yeah, so if normally it's like maximum 2 days, but of course it depends also on the amount. So when it's like a higher amount, it's more difficult to find like the guy. And we also recommend, in case you have a bill like 50,000 euros or something, which is legally and technically possible, just send us upfront an email that you plan to do this, that we can organize in the background. But we have this kind of unofficial limit of 3,000 euros. So when you have less than 3,000 euros a bill or francs, it's no problem.
Can you do recurring payments? So if you have your monthly rent, it's probably always the same.
We are still working on more features that you can have also, like you can upload and then only use the rate, but it's not so simple. So at the moment it's really you have to manually upload the bill.
So every month you just go there and do the same stuff.
Yeah.
Probably quick.
No, there's no API, and also because in the beginning we tried to have some kind of wallets for the users, but the people didn't want to use the wallets, and it was always technically more convenient. And now you just send the coins, and it's just handled in the background, and it's really very simple. You don't have to register an account. You just go on the website, upload the bill, no registration, no KYC, and you just.
The same service for companies and private?
Companies can use the service too. The issue is companies have a bit more of a problem because they have their own accounting and then they need to prove what they did with crypto or whatever. So there's not the problem with our service, but it's mostly the accounting of the company which causes the problem. So I think we didn't have many companies using the service at this point.
So in the beginning you upload the invoice and your crypto.
Yes.
So
yes, you have to pay up front because then you don't need to be verified or anything because it's sure that you paid. It's irreversible and it's fire and forget. So you pay your crypto and that's it.
So the first guy to pay the bill in Pakistan, he doesn't have somebody else to buy that Dash.
Yes, it's very simple. At the moment, I don't even know what is Pakistani fiat at the moment. Some fiat thing, but it's not supported at the moment. So at the moment, you cannot accidentally upload like a bill which cannot be paid because there's no one in Pakistan.
Buyer has to offer up his services first.
Yes, so in case some Pakistani guy would say, hey, I have 10 people at hand which could pay bills locally, we would just implement it, yes. But at the moment, it's not the big market, and we don't. So we have enough trouble with the European market at the moment, and even US dollar is already problematic because most US people use a credit card and they don't have this kind of wire thing. So maybe in a few years this may change, but I would say 90% of the customers are EU customers and Switzerland.
How are you marketing this?
There is a program that you get part of the invoice upload as a referral program, but so far we did not market the service too much.
What's it called?
It's lamium.io.
No, the program is.
It's a referral, I know /referral or something. You can.
How does the buyer forget feature work if the bill isn't picked up by someone? So I upload my bill and I upload my fee, sorry, my Dash, and then I expect it to be paid. And what happens if it's not?
In the very, very worst case, which never happened, you get your money back. But so we have this kind of guarantee that the bill gets paid.
But there's like an expiry.
Repeat the question so people on YouTube can hear.
Okay, sorry. Yes, so the question was if there is an expiry when the bill is not paid. So no, there is no official expiry, but you can indicate like a date until your bill needs to be paid. And we have a guarantee that it will be paid by then. Well, how do you mean confirmation? Yes, so when the guy is uploading his fiat payment, you will get the receipt, so you can also prove towards your creditor that you paid. Anyway, I will be here the whole time, so I'm not sure if you have enough time for... Or we have more questions?
I have one quick question.
One more question, yeah.
What's the top type of bill that people pay?
Do you mean the highest?
Well, yeah, the most common type of bill.
The most common bill is really rent.
Okay.
So end of the month we have tons of bills for the rent, and the second most bill is like lots of people want to pay bills in the EU when they are seated outside, like some Russian developers or something. But most of the bills is rent. It's really like this.
You can't pay taxes.
We had a tax bill of I think 22,000 euros. What one guy owed in taxes after he left the country, and he had to pay it in Bitcoin, so he used our service. So it was I think 22,000 euros tax bill. And we had to split it up between 3 invoice payers. So the tax office in Germany received 3 payments from 3 different people, and they accepted it. But it just shows the government, when they just get the money, they are happy. So they didn't complain. Yeah?
Anything you can pay to a bank account.
Anyway, yeah, let's go with the next program point.
Thank you, Martin, and thank you, Fabio. That was very insightful, Martin. I'd just like to say, with regards to reasons 1 to 4, there are plenty of point-of-sale solutions outside, so make sure you go and check that out. But I've got a question for you all. Do you like big announcements? Yeah. Good. I like big announcements too. And this is more for the YouTube audience, because if you do, you need to tune in tomorrow, because we have 16 keynote speakers, and that's going to be live streamed on the Dash YouTube channel. So make sure you check in for that. Okay, so we've just had those 2 keynote speakers, and right now we're going to have a 1-hour break. There's going to be food, drinks and snacks outside for 1 hour, and then at 6:30 we're going to have a panel discussion back inside here on living on Dash. It's going to be pretty interesting, so make sure you come back in. Thanks. Enjoy yourselves.
I think we just have to put some chairs and that's it.